Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to another show on Praise Talk. My name is Praise Asibota.
And my name is Charles Cranting.
And, you know, we want to wish you a compliment of the season. And I was actually listening to Premier this morning, and people were talking about the fact that Jesus is no more mentioned in Christmas. And, you know, I also learned that the term Xmas means it's a wrong mass. But I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and remind you that Jesus is the reason for the season. You know, for the theologians, they go into a lot of history saying that Jesus wasn't born in Christmas season, which we all know. But as Christians, we don't want to miss the purpose in which, the essence of it. Or not just that, right. An opportunity for us to share the gospel of Jesus and the fact that he was born. He was definitely born.
Somebody told me a story. You know, a story that somebody told me, and that you know how Christmas is being commercialized and everything. Yeah. Somebody said they were talking to a friend at work, and the friend said to them, you know, Christmas people are now sort of trying to contaminate Christmas, and they're bringing all this thing about Jesus in it.
Wow. And
so apparently, it tells you how people get everything twisted.
Apparently, they also did a survey. And a lot of children thought that it was Simon Cowell that was born on the 25th of December and not Jesus Christ.
We'll leave it there.
You know, we'll leave it there. And we know, I mean, we know he wasn't born on the 25th of December. But it's a season for us to celebrate the fact that he was born. And it's the reason why you and I are here. And it's also a time of sharing, you know, family love and sharing gifts to one another. So make sure you cheer somebody up during the season.
You know what that reminds me to? It reminds me of the song that says, because he lives,
yes, we
can face tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
That's the most important thing, isn't it?
Indeed. But we have a fantastic show ahead of us. And we've got two people that are going to let your eyes go bling this afternoon. My first interview is a location interview that I did earlier this week with a man called Delana, and he was sharing with us a whole lot of lawful credit harassment remedies that you and I can be exposed to help us out with, you know, on a whole lot of unlawful things that have been going on in the system. You could see that we had to do an interview with his back facing the camera for certain reasons, but I want you to stay glued to the show. Call your friends and call your loved ones, tell them Praise Talk is here. I mean, one of the things that I actually learned, not that I haven't heard it before, but if you are unemployed and you have a loan, you can actually write to creditors to tell them that all you can afford to pay is £1.
You know what, you're giving them all the information.
No, it's not on that.
Right.
But I just wanted to just let you know that we have something, you know, for you to just stay glued to the television. And even when you become employed, you have the right to also pay off the credit in your own terms. Wow. Stay tuned and watch this interview.
And the second part,
yes,
we have a man who, you know, we've danced to his music, we've worshipped to his music, we've seen him on videos, on
we've
YouTube,
experienced him live.
Awesome, awesome, awesome worshipper. We're going to have him live here on set with us this afternoon. We've also got some giveaways.
Yes.
Amazing stuff.
Yes.
CDs of this wonderful man of God. We've got some books to give away. Stay glued to today's show. It's just going to be, we're just going to have an awesome time here.
Indeed.
But before that, we have a video to show to you. Here's a lady who goes by the name of, listen to her name, Hetty Born Great.
Wow.
Yeah, that's her name. Just watch this video and we'll be back again shortly.
What else? I hope you're ready. Take it to the church. Now, I'm gonna be born ready. Just you know what time it is? Yeah. That's the end grade.
And you're back, and you're me, you know. Nyami sana sana big brain na yesu aye meso chuma tanasi nyabaku nyami yenu nyami sana sana big brain na yesu aye meso chuma tanasi da big brain radio big brain body
I'm ready to pound better. Just wait. You know what time it is? Yeah. That's the end queen.
It's a congrats, me won't cherry me oh. Menyamina chimami. Minya sembe dance wo. Moni mi shamota. Where you me come wahma. Ama me suma ye pray. Minyami eh. Why you jumoni yo?
You know what time it is? Yeah, I'm ready to be born better. Chidi amponyanko ponya waya mame doso me mame ho fa no wo sa na yare no ho to no o mame sa no djuma ntuma nkobọ kro no me pe me say ye no wo dane koma ni bakro no first na me ni je medi krampo ene hwe me se dachi me yeye atamfo se ge be hwe na me life enye fe ne so nyame ya wode bone che wo yimi fiate che mu from ntoma sister so ne hwe so hwe ne de beba na so nyame yimi film sika na so besa na so be ma me di bi you are so merciful yeah I thought it was a dream the fa bo huntu ni pastor cause nipa de wo be sim o mame ji awards be yenu.
Exclusive Events Hire Services, adding class to your events. We offer a one-stop service to all our clients. Our team is formed of the best of the event industry. It would be our pleasure to put our extensive experience and expertise to work for you. We manage and plan weddings, birthdays, christenings, anniversaries, celebration, parties, team building events, and many more. Today for a quotation on 0207 064 9929 or 07540 254 342 or 07956 821 246 or visit us on our website at www.eehireservices.co.uk.
Pleroma Magazine, your #1 Christian magazine featuring inspirational articles from the pulpit, finance and planning, music review, events and interviews from the Christian community. Reach your target audience by advertising your product or services. Call us to advertise or subscribe on 0203-538-3856 or visit www.pleromamagazine.com. You can follow us on www.facebook.com/Pleroma Magazine, twitter.com/Pleroma Magazine. Pleroma Magazine. Enjoy fullness of life.
Good afternoon and welcome to this segment of Praise Talk Show. I have a very interesting interview ahead of us, which I need you to just stay glued to your seat because I'll be bringing information to you that's going to be very vital for you and to you, especially as we are coming to a close of a year. You know, it's time for well, at this time of the year, a lot of us take stock of what God has done, some of the things that he hasn't done. And just this morning as I woke up, I was saying, God, I need you to show me ways in which we can, you know, make money effortlessly. And somebody would say, but that's not scriptural. But there are ways in which you and I, people make money while they're sleeping. And there are ways in which you and I God can open our eyes to recover that which has been stolen from us. My guest for this afternoon on this segment is going to be sharing some vital information to us on how we can manage some of the debts that we have incurred over the years, or how we can probably gain knowledge of how we can approach some of the creditors that might have been harassing you over time, sending you letters, telling you that they're going to be, you know, putting a judgment against your name, repossessing your property, coming to your doorstep the next morning, and some of you might just be scared of opening the door. You know, you have to check who's at the door before you open it. You know, you tell your children, don't open the door if I'm not there. And so many things go on in our lives that some of it is not necessary, but just stay tuned. I'm going to be introducing my guest by the name of D. Delaney of D Solutions Consultancy. He's actually going to be having a workshop on the 15th of December. The address is on the screen. I need you to take those details while I'm speaking to him.
take the contact details, take his email address, because you would find this information like it's, you know, like $1 million value this afternoon. Mr. Delani, you're welcome to Praise Talk Show.
Thank you for having me.
We have been talking about some of the lawful remedies to creditor harassment.
Yes.
And my first question to you was, have you been in the banking system?
No, but I have had dealings with bankers and mortgage companies and creditors.
Right.
Yes.
And you shared with me that this was from your own personal experience.
Absolutely.
That you have been able to put this consultancy together.
Absolutely.
Now, what was your experience? What did you experience with the creditors?
Well, I was a property investor. I still see myself as a property investor.
Right.
And I own a number of properties, both in the UK as well as in America.
Okay.
And I had a number of credit cards, and I was using to run some of my operations at the time. And the issue arose with my agent. Some of the properties I had in north of England, they weren't managing these properties properly.
Okay.
And then we came to the point where I was paying more than I needed to pay. I needed to control my cash flow. So I decided to let those 2 properties go and take on the lenders. But that came about because I'd come across some information that was very fascinating. So I thought I would actually use those 2 properties as a test to see if that information actually worked.
Right. And it worked in your favor, obviously.
Totally,
right.
Yes.
So what were some of the discoveries? What were some of the things that you discovered in the process of
So what I found is a lot of these creditors don't play by the rules.
Okay.
And by not playing by the rules, that allows you to engage them in such a way that they will be forced to engage with you in meaningful ways that will be of benefit to yourself rather than to them.
Right. So workshops that you put together, basically, they are workshops that we would come to understand the rules.
Indeed, yes.
Right, and how to gain knowledge and how to approach these creditors.
Absolutely.
Now, a typical example is that you take a loan.
Yes.
Okay, probably for the first 3 months, 6 months, you've been paying and everything is fine with it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, probably at the end of the year, one loses a job and they get into, you know, default, wherein they're not able to keep up to the payments.
Yes.
The next thing they'll get is a letter from the lenders reminding them, okay, that they need to keep up with the payments, you know, they need to discuss with anyone.
Yes.
The typical thing that would happen is that people would ignore them, okay, because they think, well, I don't have the money, so I'm just going to leave this letter and until, let me see what happens. And then the next thing is that they get a letter from a solicitor. What happens in the process of that? Okay.
What people shouldn't do is ignore those letters.
Okay.
When people fall into financial hardship, what they should do is, actually, in my view, is start to learn how the system actually works.
Start to learn how the system works.
Absolutely.
So in the process of them losing a job,
yes,
they need to start doing a research.
Absolutely.
To gain knowledge.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so that when there are things that are put in place to allow you, for instance, you can go to a debt management company who will then show you what to do. There are charities out there who would show you how to engage your lenders. But
some people don't even know that.
No.
And sometimes people think that these debt management companies want to even make money from them.
Absolutely.
Would you advise people to approach them?
Yes, it depends on the circumstance. Yeah,
for
the general population, yes.
Okay.
They should.
Okay.
For the people who have, in my view, people who had the level of debt that I had over 100 grand in unsecured loans.
Right.
And over $500,000 in a couple of mortgages, and that's pretty serious for those kind of people. And for people who have, again, because it's all relative. Some people might owe $3,000 and think it's a huge amount of money. Some might owe $10,000, and some might owe $500,000 or $1 million before it becomes worrying. But the key thing is, well, let me backtrack. The way things should work is, if you ask questions of your lender, they have a duty to respond to the questions. One of the best ways to go about trying to get them to engage with you is to ask questions around your agreement, the credit agreement you've got with them.
Pick up the phone, ask them ask them about questions around your agreement.
Yes, do not pick up the phone.
Do not pick up the phone. Write letters.
Write letters.
Write letters.
The reason you have to write letters is very key. Is you need to keep a trail of communication.
Okay.
Never pick up the phone if you're not recording the conversation yourself.
Okay. Thanks for that. Never pick up the phone if you're not recording the conversation yourself.
Because they do.
Okay.
Every time.
Yes, they do. Right. So you need to have your own records as well.
Absolutely.
So it's best to write letters.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Not just letters. You send notices.
Notices.
Because when you write letters, you're writing nice words. You're being very polite, as we all are, and you're dealing with. I hesitate to use the word. You're dealing with people who would not play fair, although the impression is given that they play fair, but really they don't.
So they know how to manipulate the system.
That's the word.
And because we're ignorant of that, they take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
Did you get that? So lenders take advantage of the fact that you do not know how to play, or you do not know how the rules should work. So they take advantage of that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They rely on our apathy. A lot of people are apathetic. People. I hesitate to say this, but I speak from experience of the people I've helped. A lot of people are fearful and apathetic, and they're not used to taking responsibilities for our actions. We need to take responsibility for our own learning.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to matters, financial matters.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical because we're not taught in schools how to manage money, and we're not taught about how to deal with issues like this.
Right.
Now, we're not taught the rules either, and the lenders would prefer for you not to know the rules. And I'll give you an example of what the rules are you need to know. If you have an issue with your lender, a legitimate issue with your lender, and you ask questions, now lenders would say to you, we'll answer your questions, but we're here to treat you fairly. And indeed they have to treat you fairly, and in some cases they will treat you fairly.
Okay.
But sometimes they don't. And when they don't treat you fairly and you ask questions and you choose not to pay, to withhold payment until the questions have been asked, sometimes then they get heavy-handed with you.
Okay.
And when they do, they break rules. Now, for instance, the Consumer Credit Act of 1974 is a provision in that law that states that when you have a legitimate dispute with a lender, they have to resolve that dispute before that debt is assigned to a third party. Before.
So do they need to notify us that they will be passing on our information to solicitors before they do that?
Normally they would have done.
They would have.
They would have done. They do that, yes.
They do that.
But where the rules are broken is they do those things, and well, most people don't know how to respond in the first place because they're too fearful to respond to lenders.
Right.
So the thing to do is to respond to them by asking questions. Ask for your credit agreement. And when you ask for your credit agreement, there are certain things, there are certain stipulations that your agreement must fulfill. What you'll find is you'll be surprised to find that generally those agreements do meet those criteria, but sometimes they don't. And you have to know what to look for. When you look at when you're making the agreement and you find that they're not in line with the rules or with the stipulations of the law, then that agreement is probably not enforceable.
Okay. So it's very important. I mean, you can hear some of the information that's been passed to us this afternoon. The 15th of December is a very important date for your diary. I know you're busy shopping, busy preparing yourself for Christmas, but how about finding ways in which you can recover some money, to get yourself prepared for the new year and to do greater things in the year? You was talking about a letter and a notice. What is the difference between a letter and a notice?
Well, a letter is what we all write. And, okay, let me put it this way. If you write a letter to your lender or to any institution, it goes to the customer service.
Okay.
If you send a notice, it goes to the legal department. So that means you're taking it more seriously. So that means you need to learn how to do that. You need to learn how to communicate with them the right way.
You need to learn how to communicate. A letter goes to the Customer Services Department. A notice goes to the legal department of the company.
Take you more seriously.
And they will take you more seriously. Now, I was asking about somebody losing a job, and you said the first thing is to write a letter. Now, if the person is saying, well, I've lost my job, and I cannot afford to keep up to the payment of this loan, what should be expected from the lenders?
The lenders would, generally the lenders would allow you to you get payment holidays sometimes. They'll try their best to try and help you within the rules. But it's when they're trying to be difficult, or when you have been unemployed for a period of time, 12 months. Some people, maybe my brother, for instance, was unemployed for over a year because he couldn't get back into the market. And when they got back into, when you're in that kind of situation, then you find that your debts have piled up. So you will need some time to pay that off. But of course, if you've got a family to feed, you're not going to not feed your children.
That is your priority. That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what you want to be able to do is to pay the absolute minimum or nothing. Some lenders will allow you will give you maybe 3 months of payment holiday, depending on what kind of loan, and some will not, or some will assign a debt. And the issue comes when the debt is assigned to a third party, because they will then chase you. The other thing about some third parties is they don't have the title, the legal title to the debt, and most people don't know this, because if they have no legal title to the debt, then they have no right to chase you. And they're the ones who are most likely to chase you and chase you to court to force you to pay.
Okay, so you've just mentioned about the issue with your debt being passed on to a third party.
Yes.
What is the issue there?
The issue there is if, for instance, you found out that there's an issue of being overcharged, for instance. Because if you look at your statements and you suddenly realize that you've been overcharged, that happens very frequently. Then you could, if you can work out how much the overcharge is, you could say that you could offset that. You could take that off from what was owed, and then sort of negotiate the payment. But if the lender disagrees with you, and you know that you've been overcharged, and the debt then assigned to a third party rather than being resolved, then the third party tries to chase you. Then by assigning the debt to a third party without resolving the issue, then the rules are broken. And some third parties would come after you knowing that most people are scared.
So you're saying if a third party basically is handing your information, you need to write to them asking about the details that they have of you?
Well, if you have a dispute with the lender, that shouldn't have been passed on to them.
It shouldn't have been passed on.
Although you would have signed an agreement to say that the debt can be assigned to a third party.
Okay, but just because there's a dispute.
Yeah, because of this dispute,
yes.
then that doesn't apply.
Then it doesn't
apply.
Okay.
The rule that actually applies is except it is under the Contract Act of 1999, right of third parties, except they are mentioned at the time of inception of the agreement. They really shouldn't interfere.
Okay.
That comes into play if you have a legitimate dispute with the lender.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on the issue where people's credits have been affected.
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that it's a kind of a form of a blackmail when somebody's credit has been, rated low. What happens in that process?
I have to qualify that. If you have a legitimate dispute with a lender,
okay,
and they rather than resolve the issue, because there are people who go because they know that they have this legitimate issue with the lender, they choose not to pay until that's resolved. When that happens, and the lender decides to put a mark against your name, now that's coercion. That's like trying to force you to pay instead of resolving the issue.
Right. It's kind of like a personal thing then. It's like somebody taking something personal. You don't want to sort this out. This is what I will do to you until you do what I'm expecting you to do.
Well, because we look at it from this point of view, if they're trying to get you to pay what you're not legally liable to pay,
right,
then that's not fair. So if you feel aggrieved and you know you have a case, and yes, most lenders will resolve that issue, but some of them will not. And when it gets to that place where they're not willing to resolve the issue and would rather put a mark against your name, then that's blackmail, if you like.
Okay. So here is all of this. Our information, us people, are being held by financial companies, being held by solicitors, being held by, you know, other financial institutions. How can you keep a track of what people have of you?
Well, you can't, because we have been.
Okay.
The only way you can stop giving away your information freely, and there's no obligation for you to give out the information if you don't want to give it out.
How does one do it unknowingly?
You just been conditioned to willingly give away the information when you sign up to things. A classic example is if you buy a TV set, for instance, your details are taken. The reason your details are taken is to report the purchase of that TV set to the TV licensing authority. Now, you can refuse to give your details because it's not an offense to buy a TV set. Yes, you may argue there's an offense not to pay the TV license, but you don't have to give your details.
This is very interesting because I walked into a shop just to buy a battery charger.
Right.
And I was asked for my name and address and contact details. And it really baffled my mind why they had to take all of that for a simple, it was not even a charger, it was an earphone I was buying from Carphone Warehouse.
Yes.
And I was wondering, why do they have to take all these details just to buy